Allied soldiers called it Hitler's Buzzsaw. When its sound was heard, everyone hit the ground. Psychologists studied the trauma this weapon created. But how could a weapon instill such fear? MG42, Maschinengewehr 42, meaning machine gun 42. In German, this weapon was perhaps the most feared gun of World War II. But the MG42 story isn't just about a weapon, it's about how German engineering changed even the psychology of warfare. In 1942, the Wehrmacht had a major problem. The current machine gun MG34 was an effective weapon, but its production was expensive and slow. As the war expanded, more firepower was needed. A weapon that could be produced faster and more reliably was required. The team led by Werner Gruner, an engineer at Grossfuss Company, adopted a revolutionary approach. Instead of traditional precision craftsmanship, they would use simple parts, suitable for mass production. Stamping from metal sheets, joining with welding. The result was incredible. The MG42's rate of fire was 1,200 rounds per minute. That meant 20 rounds per second, a speed the human ear couldn't distinguish. The firing sound was heard like a single scream. Brrrr! This sound became an unforgettable sound for any soldier. American soldiers called it Hitler's Buzzsaw. The British said Spandau. The Soviets called it Koschei, a name evoking the immortal devil. Every nation had its own fearful nickname. So where did this fear come from? Not just from the rate of fire. The psychological terror spread by the MG42 was much more complex. First, the sound. Traditional machine guns made a tak-tak-tak sound. Each shot could be heard. The MG42, however, was like a continuous hum. Soldiers couldn't count how many bullets were fired. This uncertainty increased the fear factor. Second, range and accuracy. The MG42 could make effective shots up to 1,000 meters. With bipod support, it provided great accuracy. Enemy soldiers never felt safe anywhere in open terrain. The effect of the MG42 in the D-Day landing was terrifying. Fire from German bunkers at Omaha Beach nearly stopped the American landing. A single MG42 nest reportedly pinned down 2,000 American soldiers. An American soldier wrote in his diary, "When that sound started, it was like a giant cloth tearing. Bullets whizzed around us, dirt was flying, no one could move." On the Eastern Front, the situation was even worse. Soviet infantry assault tactics were the perfect target for the MG42. Soviet soldiers, advancing in masses, were torn apart by a single MG42. A sergeant from the German 24th Panzer Division in Stalingrad recounted, "When we set up the MG42, the Russians would stop the attack. The sound of the weapon alone was enough. Before we started firing, the enemy would begin to retreat." So what made the MG42 so effective? Technically, the weapon had a revolutionary design. It used a roller delay blowback system. This system maximized the rate of fire while also increasing reliability. Barrel changes could be done in 10 seconds. This meant continuous fire capability. The feeding system was also perfect. 50-round belt magazines could be connected to each other. Theoretically, there was unlimited firing capability. The only limitation was barrel heating. It was also revolutionary in terms of production. The production of the MG34, which took 150 machine hours, was reduced to 75 hours with the MG42. The cost was halved. This meant mass production capability. From 1942 to 1945, 750,000 MG42s were produced. It was present on every front, in every battle. It became the backbone of the Wehrmacht. Allied forces had to develop special tactics against the MG42. Marching fire technique was developed. Soldiers received special training to encircle MG42 nests. The U.S. Army report stated, "The psychological effect of the MG42 is greater than its physical damage. Our soldiers freeze when they hear the sound of this weapon." After the war, the impact of the MG42 became even greater. The Americans developed the M60 machine gun, inspired by the MG42. The Soviets created the PKM series. NATO countries modernized it as the MG3. Even today, the MG3, modernized MG42, is used in more than 40 countries. The Bundeswehr, Pakistani Army, Turkish armed forces still use the descendant of this weapon. In the Vietnam War, the American M60 was nicknamed Pig, but it never captured the effect of the MG42. In Afghanistan, Iraq, modern versions are still being used. This weapon, produced 750,000 times, set the standard for modern machine gun design. Rate of fire, quick change barrel, belt-fed system, all of these come from the MG42. Psychologists studied the trauma created by the MG42 after the war. They called it acoustic shock. The sound of the weapon caused long-term stress disorders in soldiers. Even years after the war, similar sounds triggered panic attacks in veterans. Hitler's Buzzsaw. This nickname was no coincidence. Sharp like a saw sound, continuous and deadly. How could a weapon instill such fear? Because the MG42 wasn't just firing bullets. It was conducting psychological warfare. German engineers had realized that what mattered in war wasn't just causing damage, but breaking the enemy's morale. The MG42 did both. That's why it became the most feared weapon of World War II. The MG42s displayed in museums today stand silent. But that characteristic sound will echo forever in war history. The Devil's Buzzsaw is now silent, but its legacy lives on.